She held my hand and whispered, "Don't be mad. I'm marrying him to save his life." Rebecca's fingers were trembling, but her voice stayed steady, like she'd rehearsed the line 100 times. I didn't flinch. I smiled, not bitterly. Not angrily, just calmly. She didn't know the system wasn't punishing me. It was punishing her. If I fail this mission, the consequence isn't mine to bear. It's hers. Rebecca will die. Cruz's name had been echoing through our lives for weeks, always framed as the victim, the one who might die if she didn't help. Now, she believed helping him meant marrying him. I could have stopped her, could have told her the truth, but what would she do with that knowledge? Love me out of fear? Stay with me to survive? The mission would collapse instantly. The system required sincerity. It demanded real affection, no compromises. So I stayed. "Quiet," Cruz said. "If the affection meter doesn't hit 100, he'll get wiped," she added. "He begged me, and I can't just let someone die like that." I nodded. "You're not wrong," she blinked, unsure if I was agreeing or letting her go. "I'm not betraying you, Johnny," she said quickly. "It's just for the system. It's fake, temporary. Once he survives..." I gently pulled my hand from hers. Rebecca's breath caught. The distance was only a few inches, but it landed like a wall. I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't ask her to choose me, because I already had my answer, and I knew what would happen next. Cruz would fight for her heart. Rebecca would try to keep both of us alive. And when my mission failed, she'd vanish. Not because I died, but because I couldn't make her love me enough to survive. I'm a trauma surgeon, not the kind that cracks under pressure, not the kind that hesitates in chaos. I've stitched hearts together on burning helicopters, stabilized patients bleeding out in back alleys, and lost count of the number of times I've ignored death's breath on my neck. But the hardest mission of my life is this one. I was chosen by a rescue system. A year ago, the goal was clear: find a terminally ill subject and make her fall in love with me, genuinely, completely, 100%. Once she does, the system will activate her cure. The cancer will vanish. My target? Rebecca. She wasn't just someone dying. She was someone who refused to stop living. The moment I met her, I knew the system hadn't picked her randomly. She ran her own tech startup, worked late, fought for every deal, and still found time to make handwritten birthday cards for her employees. She smiled like nothing could touch. But I've seen her cry alone after coughing up blood. 7 months. That's how long we've been together. She doesn't know about the system, the mission, or the price of failure. All she knows is I love her. And most days, that's enough. Her affection level recently hit 89%. 90% is loyalty. 100 is love deep enough to live or die for. Once we hit that, she lives. That's all I've worked for. Every coffee date, every fight, every bandaged hand from cooking lessons she forced me into, I was building something real. But then last week, he showed up. Cruz. Another host. Another system. Same target. His mission is the mirror of mine: win Rebecca's heart or be erased. Now she's stuck in a nightmare neither of us can explain to her. He's kind, soft-spoken, polite, always one step behind me but never too far. Rebecca doesn't. Know why Cruz suddenly confided in her, told her he might disappear. He didn't use the word die. But he didn't have to. She started pulling away the day after. Not completely. She's too loyal for that. But cautious, slower to reply, hesitant to make plans. I can see it in her eyes. Guilt, confusion, that quiet panic when two people she cares about are sinking and she can't save them both. Last night, she sat beside me on the couch, knees pulled up. We were watching some old comedy I wasn't really following. Her laughter felt off. Then she asked it. If someone was in danger, and I could help them by pretending to love them, just pretending, would that be wrong? I turned to look at her. That depends. Would pretending mean breaking something real? She didn't answer. She just leaned her head on my shoulder like she was trying to press the thought out of her skull. She thinks this is about saving Cruz, about playing along until he's safe. She doesn't know that even a fake marriage, even a single kiss could destroy the progress we've made, because the system tracks authenticity. It doesn't care what she says. It reads what she feels. If she sways, even a little, my numbers drop. If it drops too far, the mission fails, and if the mission fails, the cancer comes back. Aggressive, immediate, terminal. She'll be gone in less than 3 months. So no, I'm not afraid of Cruz. Winning. I'm afraid of Rebecca thinking she's saving a life when she's trading her own. I've watched her heart split in two over the past few days. Today she hugged me a little tighter. Tomorrow she might hold Cruz's hand instead. Not, because she stopped loving me, but because she thinks saving someone else is the right thing to do. She doesn't know her life is the price of my failure. She doesn't know she's dying. The rooftop garden was packed. Family, friends, shareholders, cameras. Rebecca stood at the center in a pale blue dress that swayed with the breeze. She was radiant, nervous maybe, but still radiant. Then Cruz got on one knee. I was standing near the back, behind a column, just far enough to be forgotten by the lens, but close enough to see everything. He opened the ring box with a theatrical smile. "Rebecca, will you marry me?" Gasps erupted around the crowd. Rebecca froze. For half a second, her eyes searched the crowd. For me. Then she looked down at him and nodded. Yes. Cheers. Applause. Confetti. Flashbulbs. I didn't move. Rebecca leaned in, hugged him quickly, and whispered something into his ear. He smiled, relaxed, stood beside her like they were already husband and wife. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from her. I'll explain later. Please trust me. I didn't respond. A few hours later, she showed up at my place. She still had bits of glitter in her hair. Johnny, before you say anything, please listen. I stepped aside. She walked in. Didn't sit. Just stood there, clutching her hands together like she was trying to wring out the guilt. I had to say yes. His system was pressuring him. If I rejected him in public, he would have been punished on the spot. I didn't want to watch that happen. I looked at her without blinking. So you agreed to marry him for a system task? Yes. But it's not real. The engagement is fake. We're not getting married for real. I said nothing. I don't love him, she added quickly. I love you. This was just damage control. I was protecting him. That's all. I turned and walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water. Not because I was thirsty, just to keep my hands busy. Johnny? His ring fit you perfectly, I said. Did he guess your size? She bit her lip. I told him, weeks ago, just in case. Just in case. My glass hit the counter harder than I meant to. Water splashed onto my wrist. Rebecca stepped forward. You're upset. I get it, but please, understand. I forced a calm voice. I understand completely. You thought saving him was worth risking us. Her face dropped. That's not what I meant. You gave him a public yes. You gave me a private sorry. That's what you meant. Silence stretched between us like a wire ready to snap. She crossed her arms, looked away. It's just for now. When he's safe, I'll call it off, I swear. But the system had already spoken. Affection level, 89%, 84%, 5% lost. In one moment. I felt it. The difference. Her gaze didn't linger as long. Her body didn't lean in like it used to. The warmth she once gave freely now felt calculated, guarded. She didn't even notice. She thought love could be paused. She thought this could be undone. I stared at her, quiet. We had made it so far, 89%, 1% more, and she would have reached loyalty, total, unwavering. She would have survived. Now we were heading backwards. I'm still yours, she said, taking a small step forward. Please, believe that. I looked at her and lied. I do. She smiled. Thank you. I kissed her forehead lightly. Habit, muscle memory. It didn't feel like it used to. I knew something she didn't. She was already dying. Every morning, Rebecca greets me with the same soft smile, like nothing's changed. She still kisses my cheek before she leaves. Still says, "Take care at work." But as soon as she steps outside, her hand slides into Cruz's. The media loves them, calls them a golden couple. Power duo. Unshakable. Meant to be. None of them see the cracks. None of them know I do. Yesterday, a photo made headlines. Rebecca kissing Cruz in the back seat of his car, her hand on his chest. His eyes closed like he was already winning. When she came home, she acted like nothing happened. Tossed her purse on the couch and asked what I wanted for dinner. I had already cooked hers. Roasted miso cod, lemon kale salad, her favorite wine. She glanced at the table, paused, then forced a guilty smile. "Looks amazing, but I already ate with Cruz. Sorry." I nodded. No worries. She didn't notice how long I looked at her plate. Still full, still warm, still untouched. That night, I lay awake while she slept next to me, breathing slow, peaceful. In her sleep, she murmured his name. The system chimed at 3:12 a.m. System warning. Affection level now, 73%, 16% gone. Gone to Cruz. Every time she kisses him, it drops. Every time she smiles at me and walks out the door holding his hand, it drops, and I stay silent. Because if I tell her the truth, if she learns that she's dying unless she loves me fully, her affection will become fear. The mission will collapse instantly. There won't even be time to explain. So I hold on, quietly. Today I left flowers in her office, white tulips. Her favorite. She texted me a thumbs up emoji. An hour later, a live stream popped up on my feed. Cruz had taken her to a park filled with tulips. Cameras followed their every move. He kissed her hand. She didn't pull away. A reporter asked them if the wedding would happen before summer. Rebecca laughed and said, "We'll see what fate decides." I turned off the stream, then I packed the untouched dinner into a container and took it to the hospital. Gave it to a patient recovering from surgery. At least someone could enjoy what she no longer had an appetite for. Back at home, the air between us grew thinner every night. She still said, "I love you," when the lights went out, but even her voice sounded like it was asking a question now. I answered like I always did. "I love you more." The lie sat like lead in my chest. Because every night I watched her slip a little further away. Cruz was gaining ground, and she didn't even know she was running out of time. The wedding venue was absurdly grand, soft lilac drapery, chandeliers glittering like frost, floral arches spanning the entire aisle. Rebecca had spared no expense, not for herself, for the illusion. She stood behind the double doors, veil lifted. Her hand curled around Cruz's arm. Guests murmured in admiration. Cameras rolled, and then the music started. I froze. It was that song, the one I'd told her I wanted for our wedding, the one we danced to in the kitchen at midnight, barefoot, when her affection level hit 60%. She said she could imagine herself walking down the aisle to it. Now she was. Only not to me. She took a single step forward, the song swelling through the hall. Our song, our promise. My hands clenched in my lap. Then she looked up, eyes scanning the crowd, until they locked onto mine. The world blurred. The crowd faded. For one heartbeat, it was just us again. Her lips parted slightly as if to say something, but she turned back to Cruz, kept walking. My pulse was a roar in my ears. Cruz stood proud at the altar, shifting just enough to be sure I saw him take her hand. The officiant cleared his throat. "Do you, Rebecca, take this man to be—" Suddenly she swayed. Her grip on Cruz loosened. A crimson stain spread across the bodice of her ivory dress. She coughed once, then again, harder. Blood splattered onto the carpet. A second later, she dropped to her knees, clutching her stomach. Gasps, screams. Cruz shouted her name. I was already moving, shoving past the stunned guests. But just before I reached her, the system's voice echoed coldly in my mind. System alert, mission failed. Fatal condition reactivated. The words hit harder than the panic in the room. Caught her just as she crumpled forward, blood dripping from her lips onto my sleeves. She looked up at me, dazed. Johnny, what's happening to me? I didn't answer. Because I couldn't. She'd chosen too late. The white ceiling above her flickered in and out of focus. A soft beep monitored each shallow breath. Rebecca blinked slowly, then again. The weight in her chest wasn't the IV or the bandages. It was the emptiness. She was alive, but barely. Where? You're at my hospital, I said, stepping into the light. Private wing, no media. She looked at me like she hadn't decided whether to cry or smile. Johnny. I didn't answer. Not right away. Her skin was pale, her lips cracked. The sparkle in her eyes, the one I used to chase, had dimmed into something brittle. She tried to sit up. I placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Don't. How long was I out? 4 days. Her eyes widened. And Cruz? I said nothing, just looked at her. She swallowed hard. I need to talk to him. But first, Johnny, please. I need to say this to you first. I didn't stop her. I made a mistake, she whispered. The proposal, the wedding. I told myself it was fake, but I let it go too far. And the whole time it wasn't Cruz I wanted beside me, it was you. I studied her carefully. She meant it. Every word. But it didn't matter. Let's end it, she said quietly. I'll leave him. I'll call it off today. We can still be together. We can fix this. Fix this? I repeated. She nodded slowly. There's still time. We can start over. Right? I walked to the windows, drew the curtains open. The afternoon light streamed in, bright, honest, unforgiving. Then I turned to her. You don't understand what's happening, do you? She blinked. I picked up the tablet from the table, tapped the screen, and turned it toward her. Scans, blood work, the diagnosis, spelled out in clinical, brutal clarity. Your cancer's back. She didn't respond. Stage 4, metastatic. We caught it late, because the system had been suppressing it. Until now. A long silence. Then, but why now? I sat beside her and answered plainly. Because you failed. Her lips parted, confused. You were only alive because your affection for me had reached the threshold, I said. 89%. You were one step away from full remission. The numbers began to make sense to her now. You said, I do to Cruz. In public, wearing the ring, playing our song. I leaned closer. You didn't just slip emotionally. You handed your heart to someone else. And the system recorded every second of it. Rebecca's hands trembled in her lap. But I didn't mean it. I thought it was just an act. I didn't know. I know you didn't. She looked up at me, face wet now. Then save me. You can fix this. You always do, please, Johnny. I shook my head. It's not about what I can do anymore. It's what you undid. She tried to speak, but I raised a hand to stop her. I didn't just work as your surgeon. I was your system host. My mission was to save your life through love. Not medicine, not treatment. You living wasn't a miracle, it was a contract, she whispered. You should have told me. If I had, I said, you would have loved me out of fear, not choice. That would have killed the mission instantly. Her jaw clenched. So I really am dying? I nodded. And there's nothing left I can do, not with the mission failed. She leaned forward, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. Try anyway, even if there's no system, even if you hate me. Just try, please. I pulled away, gently, but firmly. You already said I do to someone else. Her face broke. There's nothing left for me to save. She collapsed back onto the pillows, silent tears rolling across her cheeks. Outside the window, the sun kept rising, but inside that room, everything else was falling. Rebecca's condition declined faster than any chart could explain. In a week, she lost the ability to stand. In 10 days, she stopped eating. By the 12th, she couldn't speak without wincing. I stayed professional, efficient, detached. I gave the orders for her care, monitored her vitals, made sure she didn't suffer more than necessary. I didn't sit by her side. I didn't hold her hand. I couldn't, because she'd already slipped beyond reach. The night it happened, I was called in by a nurse. "You might want to be here," she said. "She's asking for you." I walked into the room. Rebecca was curled on her side, hair thinned, skin almost translucent. But her eyes found me. Barely above a whisper, she said, "I kept it." I frowned. "Kept what?" She held something out with weak fingers. A small box. Inside was the engagement ring I'd given her 6 months ago, back when her affection level had climbed to 80%, and I thought we were unstoppable. The diamond was scratched. The band slightly bent. She'd carried it all this time. Her voice cracked. "I was going to wear it again, after the wedding was over, after we fixed things." She coughed mid-sentence. "Blood on the sheets. I just wanted more time with you." I stayed silent. She looked up at me through wet lashes. "Will you stay? Just until it's over." I didn't answer with words. I sat beside her. For the first time in weeks, she reached out, placed the ring in my hand, then closed my fingers around it. "Even if you forget me, I won't forget you." Those were her last words. A few hours later, Rebecca passed away, quiet, still, holding my hand. The moment her heartbeat flatlined, the system's voice returned. "Target deceased. Mission failed. System memory erasure in progress." The erasure protocol wasn't instant. It came like fog, slow, deliberate, wiping edges before center. I stayed with her body until the first memory faded. The smell of her favorite perfume. Gone. The sound of her laugh. Gone. Her name still sat on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't recognize it anymore. The funeral was private. She had no family left, but in her will, she left everything to me. Her company, her assets, her home. A note, handwritten. For the man who saved me once, even if I didn't deserve it. I didn't shed a tear. I didn't feel sorrow. I didn't feel much of anything. The system had done its job. By the time I stood at her grave, I remembered only the mission, not the warmth, not the moments, not her. I turned and walked away. The hospital lobby buzzed with the usual chaos, nurses paging, patients waiting, machines chiming softly. As I approached the doors, a girl stepped in front of me, barefoot, hospital gown, fragile. She stared up at me with wide, uncertain eyes. "Doctor, I heard you can save people like me." Her voice was soft, full of fear, but full of hope. Behind my eyes, the system stirred. System, new target detected. Mission initializing. I looked down at her and smiled.